Namaste, Dandavat Pranam. By the instruction and grace of our spiritual master, Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Sripad Bhakti Madhava Puri Maharaj, we are here reading Srimad Bhagavatam. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We're also paying our humble Dandavat Pranam to Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada for providing us this wonderful commentary and translation of Bhagavatam. And we're also praying to Srimati Radharani, following the guidance of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who said if we cannot understand something about Radharani in the 18,000 verses of Bhagavatam, then our study has been wasted. So in this mood, we're praying to Srimati Radharani. Yadi seva vanchitasya ma yasya kripaya vayam labema sarvam prapnuma prayojanam damni Shri Bhagavat Pade Krishna sambandhi sarvam cha yadi na janimahe tutam ashtadashasu sahasreshu shlokanam Bhagavat oktishu radharanim na vindamha tada nishvalam Bhagavat adhyayanam radhikaya kripam vina yartasyat sarva parishrama. If we are cheated out of serving that personality whose mercy awards us everything we need, including residence in the Lord's holy Dham, and all things connected to Krishna, and if we cannot understand or discover Radharani within the 18,000 verses of Srimad Bhagavatam, then our study of Srimad Bhagavatam has been pointless. Without the mercy of Srimati Radharani, all our efforts are in vain. So we are continuing our reading today from Canto 4, Creation of the Fourth Order. Chapter 29, Talks between Nārada and King Prācīnabarhi. Text 62. Moite manasa yad yad asavaham iti bruvan griniyat tat pumhan radham karmayena punharbhava. The living entity labors under the bodily conception of I am this, I am that. My duty is this, and therefore I shall do it. These are all mental impressions, and all these activities are temporary. Nonetheless, by the grace of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the living entity gets a chance to execute all his mental concoctions. Thus he gets another body. As long as one is absorbed in the bodily conception, his activities are performed on that platform. This is not very difficult to understand. In the world we see that every nation is trying to supersede every other nation, and that every man is trying to advance beyond his fellow man. All these activities are going on under the name of advancement in civilization. There are many plans for making the body comfortable, and these plans are carried in the subtle body after the destruction of the gross body. It is not a fact that after the gross body is destroyed, the living entity is finished. Although many great philosophers and teachers in this world are under the impression that after the body is finished, everything is finished, this is not a fact. Nārada Muni says in this verse that at death one takes his plans with him, griniyat, and to execute these plans he gets another body. This body is called punarbhava. When the gross body is finished, the plans of the living entity are taken by the mind, and by the grace of the Lord, the living entity gets a chance to give these plans shape in the next life. This is known as the law of karma. As long as the mind is absorbed in the laws of karma, a certain type of body must be accepted in the next life. Karma is the aggregate of fruitive activities conducted to make this body comfortable or uncomfortable. We have actually seen that when one man was about to die, he requested his physician to give him a chance to live 4 more years so that he could finish his plans. This means that while dying, he was thinking of his plans. After his body was destroyed, he doubtlessly carried his plans with him by means of the subtle body, composed of mind, intelligence, and ego. Thus he would get another chance by the grace of the Supreme Lord, the Supersoul, who is always within the heart. Sarvasya chaham pradishani vishto mutasmritir jnanam apohanam cha. In the next birth, one acquires remembrance from the Supersoul and begins to execute the plans begun in the previous life. This is also explained in the Bhagavad Gita in another verse. Ishvara sarvabhutanam hriddeshi arjuna tishtati. Brahmayan sarvabhutani yantra rudrani mayaya. The Supreme Lord is situated in everyone's heart, O Arjuna, and is directing the wanderings of all living entities who are seated as on a machine made of the material energy. Situated on the vehicle given by material nature and reminded by the Supersoul within the heart, the living entity struggles all over the universe to fulfill his plans, thinking, I am Brahman, I am Kshatriya, I am an American, I am an Indian, and so on. All these designations are of the same essence. There is no point in becoming a Brahmana in preference to an American or becoming an American in preference to a Negro. After all, these are all bodily conceptions under the modes of material nature. Text 63. Yatanumiyate chitam ubhayar indriyehita evam pragdehajam karma lakshate chitta vrittibi. One can understand the mental or conscious position of a living entity by the activities of two kinds of senses, the knowledge-acquiring senses and the executive senses. Similarly, by the mental condition or consciousness of a person, one can understand his position in the previous life. There is an English proverb that says, the face is the index of the mind. If one is angry, his anger is immediately expressed in his face. Similarly, other mental states are reflected by the actions of the gross body. In other words, the activities of the gross body are reactions of the mental condition. The mind's activities are thinking, feeling, and willing. The willing portion of the mind is manifest by the activities of the body. The conclusion is that by the activities of the body and senses, we can understand the condition of the mind. The condition of the mind is affected by past activities in the past body. When the mind is joined with a particular sense, it immediately becomes manifest in a certain way. For instance, when there is anger in the mind, the tongue vibrates so many maledictions. Similarly, when the mind's anger is expressed through the hand, there is fighting. When it is expressed through the leg, there is kicking. There are so many ways in which the subtle activities of the mind are expressed through the various senses. The mind of a person in Krishna consciousness also acts in a similar way. The tongue chants Hare Krishna, the Maha Mantra. The hands are raised in ecstasy and the legs dance in Krishna consciousness. These symptoms are technically called Ashta Sattvika Vikar. Sattvika Vikar is transformation of the mental condition in goodness or sometimes transcendental ecstasy. Text 64. Nanu bhutam kvachanena dehena drishtam ashrutam kadachid upalabhyeta yadrupam yadrigatmani. Sometimes we suddenly experience something that was never experienced in the present body by sight or hearing. Sometimes we see such things suddenly in dreams. Purport. In dreams, we sometimes see things that we have never experienced in the present body. Sometimes in dreams, we think that we are flying in the sky, although we have no experience of flying. This means that once in a previous life, either as a demigod or an astronaut, we flew in the sky. The impression is there in the stockpile of the mind, and it suddenly expresses itself. It is like a fermentation taking place in the depths of water, which sometimes manifests itself in bubbles on the water's surface. Sometimes we dream of coming to a place we have never known or experienced in this lifetime. But this is proof that in a past life we experienced this. The impression is kept within the mind that sometimes becomes manifest either in dream or in thought. The conclusion is that the mind is the storehouse of various thoughts and experiences undergone during our past lives. Thus, there is a chain of continuation from one life to another, from previous lives to this life, and from this life to future lives. This is also sometimes proved by saying that a man is born a poet, born a scientist, or born a devotee. If, like Maharaj Ambarish, we think of Krishna constantly in this life, Savai Mana Krishna Padaravai Padaravindayo, we will certainly be transferred to the kingdom of God at the time of death. Even if our attempt to be Krishna conscious is not complete, our Krishna consciousness will continue in the next life. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 6.41. Prabhya punya kritam lokan ushitva shashviti sama suchinam srimatam gehe yoga brashto bijayate. The unsuccessful yogi, after many, many years of enjoyment on the planets of the pious living entities, is born into a family of righteous people, or into a family of rich aristocracy. If we rigidly follow the principles of meditation on Krishna, there is no doubt that in our next life we will be transferred to Krishna Loka, Goloka Vrindavan. Text 65. Tenasya tadrusham rajal linkino deha sambhavam shradhatsvananubhutarto namhana sprashtum arhati. Therefore, my dear king, the living entity who has a subtle mental covering develops all kinds of thoughts and images because of his previous body. Take this from me as certain. There is no possibility of concocting anything mentally without having perceived it in the previous body. Purport. Krishna Bahir Mukha Hana Bhoga Vanchakare Nikatastha Mayatare Japatiya Dare. Actually, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, is the supreme enjoyer. When a living entity wants to imitate him, he is given the chance to satisfy his false desire to lord it over material nature. That is the beginning of his downfall. As long as he is within this material atmosphere, he has a subtle vehicle in the form of the mind, which is the stockpile of all kinds of material desires. Such desires become manifest in different bodily forms. Srila Nārada Muni requests the king to accept this fact from him because Nārada is an authority. The conclusion is that the mind is the storehouse of our past desires, and we have this present body due to our past desires. Similarly, whatever we desire in this present body will be expressed in a future body. Thus, the mind is the source of different kinds of bodies. If the mind is purified in Krishna consciousness, one will naturally, in the future, get a body that is spiritual and full of Krishna consciousness. Such a body is our original form, as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu confirms. Jivara Svarapoi Krishnara Nityadas. Every living entity is constitutionally an eternal servant of Krishna. If a person is engaged in the devotional service of the Lord, he is to be considered a liberated soul even in this life. This is confirmed by Srila Rupa Goswami. Iha yasya harer dasye karmana manasa gira nikhilas bhapi avastasu jivanmukta sa uchate. One who engages in the transcendental service of the Lord in body, mind, and words is to be considered liberated in all conditions of material existence. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1.2.187. The Krishna consciousness movement is based on this principle. We must teach people to absorb themselves always in the service of the Lord because that position is their natural position. One who is always serving the Lord is to be considered already liberated. This is also confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 14.26. Mamchayo vihabhicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samitityaitan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. One who always engages in the spiritual activities of unalloyed devotional service at once transcends the modes of material nature and is elevated to the spiritual platform. The devotee is therefore above the three modes of material nature and is even transcendental to the Brahman platform. A Brahmana may be infected by the two baser modes, namely Rajagun and Tamagun. A pure devotee who is free from all material desires experienced on the mental platform, and who is also free from empiric philosophical speculation or fruitive activity, is always above material conditioning and is always liberated. And thus ends our reading for today. We'll continue from text 66 on Friday. Jai Om Vishnu Pad Paramahamsa Sripad Bhakti Madhava Puri Maharaj Ki Jai.
Jai.
Jai Srila Prabhupada, Srila Guru Maharaj, Srila Guru Dev, Srila Acharya Dev Ki Jai.
Jai.
Jai Sri Rupanuga Guru Varga Ki Jai.
Jai.
All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the worldwide devotees, Sama Bhaktivedanta Vrinda Ki Jai.
Jai.
Jai Navadvip Dham Ki Jai, Mayapur Dham Ki Jai. Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Ju Ki Jai. Ganga Mai Yamuna Mai Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Giri Govardhan Gupta Govardhan Dham Ki Jai. Sham Kund Radha Kund Ki Jai. Tulsi Devi Bhakti Devi Vrinda Devi Ki Jai.
Jai.
Jai Tiro Bhav Mahamahotsav Om Vishnu Pad Satchidananda Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai. Shri Gadadhar Pandit Ki Jai.
Jai.
Jai Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai.
Jai.
Harinam Sankirtan Yagya Ki Jai.
Jai.
Scientific Sankirtan Yagya Ki Jai.
Jai.
Princeton Bhaktivedanta Institute Ki Jai.
Jai.
Shri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat Ki Jai. Nitai
Jai.
Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari
Hari Hari Bol.
Jai Srimati Uma Devi Dasi Ki Jai.
Jai Guru Jai. Sripad Krishna Keshav Prabhu Ji Ki Jai.
Haribo. Dandavad Stiri.
Dandavad Prabhu Ji.